Legend tales of a place where the booze flows freely and the stories are always entertaining. If you are bold enough to seek out such a place, head 13 miles down the Tuscan Highway to a tiny blues joint known as the Townsmith Tavern. Once there, enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and Bowl.
Excuse me, you can't say that. You're gonna lose your family-friendly rating. You're gonna corrupt the kids.
BS! A podcast that invites you to grab a cold beverage, pull up a seat, and enjoy time with friends. And here are your hosts, Howard Blues and the Mark Kidder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer, Blues, and BS, the podcast where 50% of the jokes are left over from last week. I'm your host, Howard Blues, here, as always, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the never satisfied with his camera angle, the legend, the Mark Kidder. Kidder, how are you doing tonight?
If you could only actually see, I'm doing. We'll just say that I'm doing, much like you. How are you doing, Howard? Are you okay? Are you in a safe place?
I'm okay. I'm getting over this nasty cold, hence the cough, and I will try to mute in the future when I cough, but just the timing on that was perfect to just say, yeah, I've been battling a cold. It crept up on me like on Monday. I was like, oh, this might not be good. And by like Monday night, I had a fever. I mean, Kidder, I was wearing, a hoodie and sweatpants and had a blanket on. And I actually like turned on our one fireplace and was like curled up in front of the fire. Like, warmth. I need warmth.
Fair enough.
So I ended up.
I'm glad that you're feeling a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I was out sick for 2 days, banished to work from home for a third day, and like today I finally got back to the office, and just in time for the weekend, and just in time for Howie Jr. to catch this cold. So he's been fighting a fever all day. So it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And such, yeah. But that's why I really didn't have much to add to the run sheet, Kidder, because I haven't done much. So, yeah.
That's okay. I mean, some things happened this week. I blinked and suddenly it's Friday again, which not such a bad thing to be back at the weekend, but there was quite a lot throughout the week. So I'm glad to be here. Also, before we talk about your evening and week and how you're feeling a little bit more in depth, today's the day that the new song and album released from Another Lost Year. So there's that. So when this comes out, it'll only be 2 weeks behind. But there it is. Other than that, we got a couple topics on the show. The rest of it's going to be kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway again, where everything's made up and the subscriptions don't matter because they're free. So please hit the sub button if you would. Just do us a favor. Click thumbs up there. Cheap little quick plug for you. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, if you could head on over to the KRDN Eyewitness Weather Now stream and use your free monthly subscription. All you got to do is click subscribe. That'd be sweet. Get your account on Twitch. Just subscribe for free. Doesn't cost you anything. You just have to do it every month, which is, super handy.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've been discussing before the official start of the show, which you'll see later, all kinds of shenanigans. And so it has taken us a little bit longer than normal, which is usually pretty long to begin with. So I would like to start drinking. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's hop right into what's on tap.
What is on tap? Would you like to go first?
Sure, because I think I have probably the least exciting of the two of us.
Okay.
Because, again, fighting cold. So, hey, everybody, you know what doesn't mix? Cold medicine and alcohol. So, Howard is drinking a wonderful 1919 classic American root beer.
I almost had one with lunch yesterday.
Yeah. Real sugar, real vanilla, caffeine free, and produced and distributed out of New Ulm Brewing and Beverage Company of Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. So, gonna crack into this. And I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's a great root beer. So, I'm gonna have a good evening with this at least.
Yep. Oh, dang. I do have to say that 1919 is tasty. The cans, very good, but on tap, as you and I know,
even better.
Just delicious. So there's a cheap plug for 1919.
Yeah.
Well, so you're going regional tonight because outside of the Minneapolis area there. I'll go a little bit closer to home with Fargo this evening. Got the old Fargo Brewing Company's Stone's Throw Scottish Ale. I've had this on tap before in Fargo, so figured that as I saw it at the store, I was like, well, how about I have it on the show and give it its official due with an official review on Beer Blues and BS. Brewed in Fargo by Fargo Brewing Company. You know, if you didn't get that idea by looking at the can. Please recycle. It's 12 full ounces. It is a 4.5% alcohol by volume and 19 IBUs. So might be a little bit on the high side there. And also this nice little logo right there with the Fargo Brewing Company. So let's crack into this bad boy. Put her back into the old sleeve so it doesn't get chilled or de-chilled anymore. Warmed up. All right. Yeah, nice aroma. First aroma, it has a very similar aroma to a Smittix or perhaps yeah. There's another one along the Smittix line that I usually get, but first one came to mind. So, cheers, Howie. Yes, has a nice amber taste to it, and nice flavor as well. Not hoppy, not a nasty aftertaste at all. So, give this one a solid 4 thumbs up out of the 5 here. The first official sips here on the Triple B.
Yeah. I've had the Fargo Brewing Company Stone's Throw before. It's a good beer. It's a very good beer. In fact, I think that's actually the only beer I've had from the Fargo Brewing Company. I do like the Scottish ales, so yeah.
I was a little selective going through because there were, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 different Fargo Brewing Company beverages, and most of them were IPAs or something of the sort. So just kind of skipped over those and went right on to this. So even though, like I said, I've had it just like you've had it. First time on the show and bringing a can home because all the other times have been in Fargo on tap. So cheers, Fargo Brewing Company.
Yeah. So here's a fun little story for you, Kidder, since you said cheers. So I mentioned Howie Jr. Has gotten this cold that I started with. And so he's been fighting a fever all day. Well, because he doesn't feel well, and this happens to a lot of kids when they are sick. They don't want to drink anything, and so dehydration is a huge problem. But over the last month or two or so, Lefty and I have been jokingly teaching him to go cheers and tap glasses and then drink. And we have totally expressed that, because at first he thought it was just fun to tap the glasses. It's like, no. We did cheers. You have to drink. And he's finally gotten it. So it's now a thing where he'll tap glasses. So because he won't, he's been sick and not drinking, tonight at dinner, that was how Lefty and I were getting him to drink water and such, was we keep going, cheers. And he'd tap glasses. It's like, okay, you gotta drink. And we'd all drink and such. That's how we were getting him to actually drink and force fluids. So little manipulation.
Well, good. Got to keep them hydrated.
Yeah.
Or you got to keep them hydrated, because then you can sing to it. Ba, 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 all right. Good. So hopefully speedy recovery for both of you and the little mister.
Yeah, especially since Lefty works this weekend, so it's me and him, and yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna not do a whole lot of nothing while he recovers. So it's gonna be a slow weekend for getting stuff done.
It's all right. There's this show, so it should get you through the entire weekend.
Speaking of slow, Kidder, I haven't had as much time to keep up with hockey so far this year, but I know you're always on top of how our Colorado Avalanche are doing. I wonder if you can tell us what's been happening with our Colorado Avs here this, beginning of this season.
Yeah, we had a quick update last week, but it's been a week since then, and so the good, the bad, and the ugly in our Triple B Sports Update.
You just said that so he'd use the logo.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got it, right? So we might as well dust it off the once in 6 months when it's going to get used. So
I just had to call you out on it, because when I do it, whenever I've been like, and logo, you always give me crap about hey, you said to do that, but you just drop it and just expect future Howard to just be like, guess I'll put that in there. I realized this while I was doing some editing last night, where I think I was listening to something else or working on something else, but all of a sudden I just hear you go, and there's the address on the screen. I'm like, great. Now I got to go find the address for Saul, because I didn't remember in the episode you doing that. So yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of slide that in there, and it's like, he assigns a lot to future Howard to do. And yet anytime I've ever done it, it's, I got to call, current Howard out on signing work to future Howard. So
yeah, yep,
I kind of was waiting for you to do it tonight, so I could bust your chops about it. So
you could try to throw a bus at me, but not gonna happen. I'm gonna Goku that straight out of the way, because I'm a professional.
I was gonna say, this is kind of a half throw since I'm getting over this cold. So anyway, back to the Avs. How are they doing?
Well, they've been kind of on a struggle bus here. They are, sixth in the Western Conference. They are 3-4 there, Jaco. 3-4 so 7 games total played, obviously, if you're doing math. So 3-4-0. They, did have an awesome victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the defending Stanley Cup champions, they beat. So there's hope. And in, was it last night's game already? Or was this 2 nights ago? I'm already forgetting. I think it was last night. The Avs and Blues. I know I was texting you during the game, but the Blues up to this point were 5-0. So there were some skeptics out there, such as myself, for their ability to continue their winning streak. But there were a lot of people jumping on the Blues train of, oh, they're going to be the greatest team ever. The Avalanche came in, set the pace, outskated the Blues, were the better team in the game, and picked up the victory narrowly 4-3 over the St. Louis Blows. So Blues lose. You do the old Blues Clues thing. Interesting portion of this game, though, because Nazem Kadri and another player or two from the Blues have been kind of getting into it since last season. You know, a couple hits here and there, and the Blues think that it's a dirty hit because somebody got, I don't want to say hurt because then it sounds like they got injured, but they got their bell rung a little bit. And then this year, again, they're going after Kadri, same player. And so there's been a couple fights. Well, there was a little skirmish and Kadri got into a fight with a Blues player. Fast forward after they had served the 5 for fighting, and there's a almost broken play, but would have been a scoring opportunity for the Avs. Now, one of our players was in the crease. I believe it was O'Connor. And we have the video. I dropped it in the drive. So we have the footage. So as we're discussing, you can see the footage of what transpired. Big thanks to our friends at the Altitude Television Sports Network and also to Bally Sports for the video courtesies and the NHL. But that all aside, O'Connor's in the goal and he's getting harassed by one of the Blues players. And basically O'Connor's tied up and is getting pushed back by the Blues player. He's holding on to the net, gets pushed back onto the net, and the net goes off the moorings just as a puck goes sailing into the net that would have been a goal. Now, Binnington, who's the goalie for the Blues, gets quite agitated with it because he thinks that O'Connor was there right next to him and impeding him, which is why the puck went in the net, even though it was a Blues player. So there's that. The Blues player skates off. There's a bit of a scrum behind the cage as it's sitting off the net, and Binnington comes over and starts throwing it around. Okay. Yeah, goalie gets amped up, and you get that mistake that you think was what it was, but it actually wasn't. Whatever. They're sorting out the scrum behind the net and trying to separate people, and Binnington is getting into people's faces. He's wanting to fight people. And so the linesmen push him out of the way and tell him to go sit on it for a bit off to the side. Well, the puck happens to be right about by the face-off circle between there and the goal, maybe by one of the outer lines of the face-off circle. Binnington comes over, shuffles it with a stick, and chops it down the ice at Darcy Kemper, the Avalanche goaltender. Kemper's like, I'm just standing here, dude. Because he's at the other end of the ice. He's like, what? Why? So then as Binnington is, still agitated, he goes swinging around. He sees Nazem Kadri coming over to have a couple words with this Blues player again. Binnington picks up a stick and starts swinging the son of a bitch around like a machete at Kadri's head. So it earned him a 10-minute misconduct, or 10-minute major in a game misconduct. And I believe Kadri was also hit with the 10-minute major in game misconduct. Kadri had to sit out, but Binnington got to stay in the game. So as Mark Mosier and Peter McNabb were discussing on the Altitude broadcast, there's an extra goalie over there. If you do something stupid like that, you should be out of the game. Like you're just done. You don't get to have another player serve the penalty. You should be out of the game. You do something stupid like that, you're just done. And I wholeheartedly agree. Like, he's swinging sticks within 3 feet of another player's head. And it's not only a regular hockey stick, it's a goalie stick. So obviously much larger. And it's not another goalie, it's a player. Now, Kadri has the visor over the, just the eye shield, but swing toward his neck or his, jaw. Come on. That's unacceptable. Dude should be banned for at least 10 games and fined for it. Landeskog had a check that the league considered boarding and suspended him for 2 games. You watch the video, and it wasn't that serious. So, you actively go and threaten somebody or have a hit against the boards. Like, the league seems to be poorly choosing between one thing or the other. I mean, what are your thoughts? I know I sent you the video of one of the camera angles, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch the videos that I dropped in the drive there, but it has a couple angles of how close Binnington was to Kadri and that sort of thing, so you get a better perspective.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to watch the videos and such. I did see the one you sent me. There's always been a little bit of leeway and protection when it comes to goalies. And I think part of it's because most teams, you have 2 goalies. You have your goalie and you have your backup. And I think the league is always a little bit more cautious about doing anything that's going to cost a team a goalie. Because if you lose that goalie, then you're down to a backup, and if something happens to that, then you're stuck with the emergency goalie. For those who maybe aren't big hockey fans, at any arena, they have an emergency goalie, and this is somebody who it's a neutral person, could play for either team, and it's in the case that like both goalies for a team goes down, this person suits up and plays goalie. There's been a couple of famous cases of it, including one where I think he was like the Rinks Zamboni driver, came out and had to defend like the Chicago Blackhawks like lead, and managed to do it, managed to hold the lead for the rest of the game. I mean, there's been some of these incidents.
Yeah, he picked up the win on that one. I think he set some kind of a record that game too.
Yeah, there was another one, I think, down. It was the Florida Panthers. And this one was interesting. Roberto Luongo was the main goalie. He got injured like early in the first period. Brought in the backup goalie. He got injured, I want to say it was third period. And so the emergency goalie ended up being the Florida Panthers goalie coach, who had played goalie, but he's like, hasn't played goalie in like, 10 years. And he was suiting up. And as he was suiting up to go in, Roberto Luongo came, down the aisle, in the dress shirt and the pants and the, like clearly he'd gone and showered and all of that. And he's like, wait, he's going in? Yeah, give me a minute. And so Roberto Luongo went back to the locker room, suited back up, and came out and relieved the backup. So, yeah, in one of those fun instances of the main goalie basically backing up the backup's backup in a weird circumstance. So that happens, but I think because of those sorts of situations, I think the league tends to protect goalies and let goalies get away with stuff a bit more than that. And usually goalies don't commit penalties. Let's just be clear. Goalies tend to be some of the cleanest players on the ice, mostly because, again, it's important that they are not causing penalties, because they're the ones who suffered that punishment, right? You know, if you're a goalie and you commit a slashing penalty, that's 2 minutes that you're going to have to face more, you know, skaters. They just don't. I mean, it's not that it's unheard of, but goalies tend to be cleaner players because of that.
Yeah. I totally, understand that piece of it. But when you go out of your way, not only to skate to the action, to try and instigate, and you're, chirping at other team members, but then you swing a stick at somebody's head, not just swing it at them like you're going to slash their knee pads or something, or give them a whack to the side. Like, look, I'm watching you, something to let them know that you are pissed. You swing your freaking stick like that. That's just unexcusable. If it were a regular player, they'd be suspended for half the season. As I was looking a little bit, while you were talking, first of all, it was Logan O'Connor from the Avalanche, and Jake Wallman was the Blues player that were having the tussle behind Binnington or next to Binnington in the paint of the goal crease. Okay, so then the scrum happened, and again, like I said, Kadri got the 10-minute penalty, and Binnington did get the 10-minute as well. But Kadri, after the game, talked to TSN saying, quote, "I have no idea. I don't know why I got the 10-minute penalty there. I stayed out of the scrum. We exchanged some words. I got a stick swung in my face. Then I end up with a 10-minute penalty. I'm not quite sure what it was for. I started skating towards him, but I'm about 50 feet away from this guy. I'm getting misconducts for just talking now. Not quite sure what that's about. What are you going to do?" So there's that. There was also, I think you'll get a kick out of this, because Binnington took to an interview afterward and was asked if he regretted swinging the stick, and he said, quote, "No, I don't condone it. It doesn't need to happen. I just think getting in the scrum is enough. I didn't need to do the stuff after, but stuff happens and you learn and you keep moving forward." Stuff happens.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting, and to say that this the league, and I'm not condoning. Luckily you covered while I was coughing, because I've been talking a lot. Yeah, threatening a player with something like this is just not great. And there have been instances. Probably one of the more famous ones is the Marty McSorley incident, where he actually clubbed a player with his stick in the head. The player was Donald Brashear, basically knocking him to the ice with his stick, and Brashear's head hit the ice. He suffered a grade 3 concussion. McSorley was suspended the remainder of that season, and he actually never played in the NHL ever again. He was also convicted of a criminal assault with a weapon in that case and sentenced to 18 months probation as a result.
And that's what I'm saying with the criminal part of it. Depending on what state you're in, you're using a weapon, that could be a felony. Yeah, it's a game, but you don't have to swing your stick at somebody or club them over the head like that. You want to go to jail?
Yeah. And so I agree with you. He took a swing at a player in a case like that, where, especially where it's you're getting the major and the game misconduct. He should be off the ice in that case, because it's not fair that he gets to do that, and then he could commit another penalty again. I say that not just because it was the Avs, right? It's if any player had done that, if it was a different goalie and against a different team, I don't care. If you take a swing at somebody, even if you didn't hit them, but you feel it's enough to give them that, I would agree. They should sit off the ice for a while.
Yeah. The title on this article is, quote, Jordan Binnington posts another unhinged temper tantrum for the ages. So, yeah, somebody forgot their baby bottle in the locker room and, just went forward crying about it. I mean, he should have been done. That the rest of the night. Just, you don't get to play anymore tonight, and the league will review the actions that you had on the ice. There was some comments as well on the officiating staff, because the two referees and the two linesmen were fairly new. I don't have their names off the top of my head, but they were trying to keep the game on the rails, and to some degree, it wasn't really working. And I don't know if it's not from having experience or if it's just because the Avs and Blues are kind of this decade's Avs Red Wings. I mean, we're kind of getting to that point. But we'll have to see. April is the next time the Avs Blues are scheduled to play.
Man, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's obviously a few months away. Some of it might cool down, but you know how things also happen where those tempers aren't forgotten.
Yeah, especially not in hockey. Hockey is a sport that holds grudges, and fans hold grudges. And I mean, you just players, especially on the rival team, that you just hate. That's just the way it goes. And you especially remember dirty hits and bad calls and things like that. It's one of those things that just gets held on to. So there's no cool in it.
Kind of like a certain former golfer player who now plays for the Winnipeg Jets. Douchebag.
Yeah, I was thinking about him too.
El Guapo, right?
Yeah.
Good old Coach Gwozdecki, the famous stand on the boards, being the dasher dancer like that, and then hopping down onto the ice and walking across to challenge the officials at the Ralph before getting the ejection and doing the walk of shame back across the ice, throwing his notebook, and then walking out.
Yeah.
Memories, sweet memories. Or the classic Hackstall finger. Remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of that, and we're kind of talking about the Avs, and we pinholed ourselves into the Avs Blues game. I suppose before moving on, and speaking of things and teams and players that you hate, the Avs play the Wild tomorrow night, 8:00, according to this. I don't know if it's Central Time, so I will try to watch that game, and we'll see how that goes.
And I will try and stay away from it.
Yeah, because every time you tune into something, man, I don't know. You just... For everybody, I think we've touched on it. Have we touched on it on the show before? How anytime you watch a hockey game, just they don't.
Yeah, we touched on it in episode 31. So,
all right, go back and watch episode 31. You can hear our discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get real deep into it, but it was one of those things where I had said I was going up to the Avs game. Not the Avs game. The Sioux game.
The Sioux game, yeah.
And yeah. We almost pulled that one off. We almost did.
Almost as in
Well, I mean, because we tied it up with like 48 seconds to go in that game, only to then like lose like within a minute in overtime. And truthfully, like because the score when we tied it was 3-3. All of Bemidji's goals were in the first period, and it was just like two of them were just back to back right off the beginning. The third goal was kind of up, but we weren't ready for them at the start of that game.
So the other team with the Sioux connection there and the Hackstall reference and not quite having a decent record, the Seattle Kraken. Release the Kraken. And it's kind of interesting because I think some people are already saying that Hackstall needs to be fired from Seattle like he did from the Philadelphia Flyers. But to be honest with you, they went with an all-over team this year, right? So a 3-4-1 record on a 2-game winning streak, not so terrible. I mean, they won their first ever game in the preseason against the Canucks 5-3. They lost the actual season opener by 1 goal against the Las Vegas Golden Showers. Won against the Predators, lost against the Blue Jackets, lost against the Flyers, lost against the Devils, lost against the Canucks, but then won against the Canadiens and the Wild. Their next game is Sunday against the Rangers, which the Rangers have been doing all right. So it's the beginning of the season, and it's always, well, how are they going to do? Nobody knows.
Yeah,
we'll have to see how it shakes out over the next couple of years.
Well, and it's one of those things. This is a team from scratch. It's year 1. They don't have history yet together. I mean, they're still learning how to play together as a team and build that chemistry and all of that. It's going to take a while. And I know everybody's going to say, well, the Golden Knights in their first season nearly won the Stanley Cup. Yeah, the expansion draft was done a little differently for the Golden Knights. And, I think you saw a bit of luck there.
The reason why it was changed for this time.
Right. This is not quite the same circumstances of it and such, but I would agree with you. It's early in the season, and truthfully, right now is not the time that you really worry about hockey. You know, you worry closer to the playoff picture and then the actual playoffs. Right now, you can afford to lose some games as you're learning this system. So they got time. They got time.
I agree. The problem, I think, is that they start losing some of that focus, though, of, we still have some time because the playoffs are a ways away. We don't have to work together as much or train as hard, and then suddenly it's, March, and, we got to start picking it up a little bit.
Yeah.
The first couple of games were rough this year. So.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they're like, we'll figure it out by March. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is that they're working at it. It's going to take that chunk of time. I mean, it's like the Sioux this year, right? We lost a bunch of players who decided, we didn't win the championship. Got to go play in the NHL. Fine. But it does mean that we've kind of rebuilt the team, and that's going to take a while as we have some of these off nights and such. That's going to happen. That's kind of the problem whenever you start up or you start rebuilding. It takes a while. So people just have to remember that.
Mm-hmm. And the Sioux, again, talking about them, the big Hall of Fame game tomorrow night in Nashville. So that would be fun to be at. I know a lot of people who are there, and it sounds like the Sioux fans, like normal, outnumber the opposition about 100-1. So we'll see. Their coach was also throwing some shade at us in an interview, as in, yeah, it'll be a neutral site, and we're just going to play like it's any other game. It's just another game. All right. Well, I hope you lose, and you lose significantly with that attitude, because as you and I know, when it's a UND game on the road, there are a lot of fans who end up going to those games. It doesn't matter if it's in Alaska or if it's in Florida. The seats will be filled with green and white. So that's why I'm a proud Sioux fan and Roll Tribe, as it were.
Yeah, in fact, I actually have family who are down there at the game. So,
and we didn't get an invite.
No, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they are.
Because you're sick.
It's my wife's aunt and a couple of her cousins, so they traveled down from Park River, North Dakota, to see the game. There was a charter that went down there, so they were on the charter. So, I mean, I hope they have a great time. Yeah, it'll be a while before I get back up to the Ralph and get to see another game, but I hope to do it. It wasn't a bad time. It was a bit stressful. Here's the thing for you. If you haven't been to the Ralph for a game, Kidder, they changed the start times on the games.
It's no longer 7:37 and 7:07.
No, it's not on Saturday. On Saturdays they start at like 6:07. And so my in-laws hadn't realized that. So like we showed up at we raced through dinner because they were thinking, oh, we got time. It's 5:00. We'll, be able to go, and, we can leave the hotel here. We can eat dinner and, have like an hour to do so. And then we'll head up to the game and shop the Sioux shop and all of that. And no, by the time we got parked, like we were racing in there. I actually missed the opening because we were standing in line at the Sioux shop to pick up Junior's jersey that my wife had ordered, and we would have made it. But the first time when we told the person, like, yes, it's, it should be under this name, and they're like, no jersey here. Well, yeah, it was just under something. And so I missed the opener. Like, I got into my seat just in time for the Star Spangled Banner. So
you made it for the important stuff, but yeah,
I was kind of annoyed at that because I wasn't the ticket holder. I didn't have like the tickets, so it's not like I knew what the start time was. But yeah, so just a warning for anyone out there: if you're going to a game, they've changed the start times. Please make sure you check,
or at least look at your ticket for the start time, and then show up about an hour before, just to make sure you get the full experience.
So we did have I should share this, Kidder, because you'd like this. We had a bunch of sorority, at least I'm going to say they're sorority type girls sitting behind us during the first period who thought it was really cool to speak in Australian accents as they talked about how much they were going to drink during the course of this game, and how the one was still hungover. And we got to hear all about their drinking escapades.
And what were these fine ladies drinking?
I forget what exactly they were drinking at that point. I was trying to actually focus in on the game. It was actually more of an annoyance, because you're sitting there like trying to watch, and you have, my God, he hasn't responded to me on Snapchat yet. I wonder if he likes me. I mean, you think he would respond, and you're just like, shut up, I'm trying to watch hockey, oh, if they keep playing like this, I might stop drinking. It's no fun to be drinking when we're losing. It's like, shut up. And then they broke out the Australian accents, and it was just like, oh my God, knock it off.
Normally, it helps when you drink, because then it kind of makes it just fade away in the distance.
It was one of those
Must be a freshman.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was just one of those where it was just like, and it was just constant. Luckily, after the first period, they moved, and it got quiet behind us. So I was like, I can just watch. About that time, then some guy with his expensive $9 beer walking through, that row, tripped over one of their aluminum beer cans and spilt his entire $9 beer. So, of course, over the course of the rest of the second and third period, that beer tended to trickle down and down to us, and we all had sticky shoes by the time it was over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good times.
Those
Good
people
times.
shouldn't be allowed to drink. That's what it is. You need a bib and a flat surface away from everyone else.
Yeah. So it was interesting. What I always find interesting in games like that, because of course there were some Bemidji fans there, because it's not that far to Bemidji. But the swagger that comes off of fans, they were ranked number 20th, I think, at the time. We were ranked 7th. So they beat us in one game, and it's like, if you really look at it, it's like, yeah, you kind of caught us flat-footed at the beginning, and you had one junk goal, and yes, you went in overtime. But you'd be walking, as we were leaving, somebody like, oh, yeah, so they're ranked 7? Overrated. It's like, I get that you won, but let's realize how you won here,
They didn't start the overrated chant, did they?
No, this was just somebody, I think, being boastful to be boastful. So
there probably weren't enough fans there from Bemidji to start the overrated chant anyway. So that's an REA classic right there.
Yeah. So, as I said, I think most people would realize, man, we're lucky. We went in and we beat them. Woo! That was, especially when you looked at the shots at the end of the game, we were out shooting them, I think it was 3-1. So we had our opportunities. They just need to realize that, if they wouldn't have gotten lucky off the beginning, that game could have gone terribly, the other way.
Oh, I love hockey. Wish that I could get to go to some more games. We've been throwing around the idea of going to an Avs game in Denver or Minneapolis or Vegas, but no solid plans as of right now. Thinking about coinciding it with a Metallica concert, because Metallica happens to be rolling through all of those venues or cities in the next 6 months. And it happens to coincide with some games that the Avalanche are playing. So might make it a Metallica Avs weekend, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. I will say, Kidder, not that I wish to get political, nor do I wish to talk about current events or anything like that, but you may want to make sure that you take and check any requirements at stadiums, because I did see the Avs posted that, to get into Bally's Arena or Ball Arena, you'd have to provide either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. So just, something to check, especially if you're traveling to one of those venues to see a game. You might want to look, because you may have something like that you have to be prepared for. So just floating that out there to you and to our listeners, not to, as I said, I don't want to get into the politics of it. I don't want to get into any of that. I just
If you're going to an event, check the event website for details, basically. So then you don't end up at the show and you can't get in.
Yeah, that was more of what I was trying to do. A friendly PSA. This PSA brought to you by the Triple B. We're trying to help you have better times all around. And if I wasn't winging that, I probably could have came up with a better line, but that was terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah, you're really phoning that one in.
I blame the cold and the cough medicine. It's not as easy to come up with this wit.
Yeah, it's a bit dry.
Mm-hmm. Just a bit dry.
That's okay. Kind of like my beer because it's out.
That sounds like a you problem. I still have quite a bit of this lovely 1919 root beer. Enjoying.
I know that there's 4 more ounces in that than what I had. So you have what, 3/4 of it left?
No, less than that. I'm probably down to about 1/4 actually.
Wow.
It's good. I mean, it's a hard one to. If every beer tasted like a 1919 root beer, Howard might eventually become the fastest drinker in the West instead of the slowest drinker in the West. But they don't. So,
yeah.
And if you don't believe me, go check out episode 30, where I drank 2 horrible pumpkin beers. Yeah, that was a choice. Kind of regret that one.
A choice. Yeah, that's a way to put it. I'm going to be festive. No, you're just putting yourself through hell for Halloween.
But I did it for the people. I did it for The Rock. Not that he listens to the show. Although if you do.
Nah, it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Hey there, Rock. Thanks for listening. If you're not listening, well, then I'm taking my high back. But if you are listening, well, thanks. Pleasure to have you here.
I'm surprised you didn't say, hi, Rock, if you are listening, please sponsor Beer, Blues, and BS.
Yeah, if you want to sponsor the show, just hit us up at beerbluesbs.com and click the Contact Us button, because then you, too, can sponsor this show. Sponsor us now before we get popular, because the sponsorship rates will only be going up. Huh? Right?
This is why for the audience, if you ever wonder why Howard never does the cheap plugs, it's always Kidder that does the cheap plugs. There you go. You just saw both of us try it. Howard bombed and Kidder just smoothly did the delivery. This is why. This is why you've only ever seen. It's only ever. If you're ever like, man, that Kidder, he's just a plug machine. This is why. It's because Howard sucks at the plugs. It's hey, it's one of those clearly radio newbie versus radio veteran. It's
the legend has spoken.
Yeah, there's you're seeing the difference in the power levels here. You can figure it out right then and there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Speaking of legend, we've talked about Legends of the Hidden Temple, and then the reboot. We've covered that a little bit.
Not really. We've always kind of hinted and joked around about Legends of the Hidden Temple, but we've never really dove into Legends of the Hidden Temple, truthfully.
So they're on, I want to say, week 3 of their revival, if you will, since the 90s, with your guide, Kirk Fogg, and all of our favorite teams, including the Silver Snakes, Go Snakes. The reboot, I had a lot of hope for, and maybe that's why I hate it so much, because I kind of had this, idea in my head that it's still going to be the same, because you can't screw up the show. What made the show, right? Half an hour, all the teams there, they have the initial short competition. You weed them down to the 4 teams. You have the steps of knowledge. You bring the story in. You weed them down by how well they can actually listen to something and then regurgitate it in the questioning phase. And then you narrow it down to the 2 teams. You have your 2 teams that could be going to the temple, and then you have your final temple games before actually the running of the hidden temple to find the artifact. Well, what did they do? Let's make it like The Amazing Race and Big Brother combined, but it's Legends of the Hidden Temple themed. No, you mother piles of shit. I apologize to future Howard because that's how I feel about this. I had to say it, okay? Because I try to watch it. I try to love it. The new host is terrible. It's this lady. And I don't know if they picked her because she won a bet or if because she perhaps has a Spanish heritage. I have no idea, but she's terrible for the show. Just terrible, okay? I'm not saying that I would be any better. I'm just saying that she's terrible for the show. When you have the original, you have Kirk Fogg. Like, oh, Mr. Almack, let's tell us the story. Why, yes, Kirk, let me tell you the story of Johnny Appleseed. And then we talk about the story and this and that. Hey, thanks, Olmec. All right, contestants, are you ready? Ready. Okay, Olmec, put 3 minutes on the clock. Yeah. Okay. On your mark, get set, go. And then commentary throughout. Looks like the Silver Snakes are in the lead again because the Silver Snakes are the badass team that's always going to win. Silver Snakes win. Look at that. All right. Congratulations for the 3 teams. You're not going home empty-handed. What do you win? Like, it's not that difficult. Seriously. But they made it into, and one of the reasons why I hate it, it's now more of a dramatic series of we need to know the contestants. We need to know their stance on politics and whatever the case is, because that's important. Who cares? It's a game show. I'm not watching this show to learn about your personal struggles or the fact that you like your friend so much and your BFFs for life. Awesome. But now we need to go into this whole thing of, oh my God, I can't have done this without you because this is the best show ever. I don't care. Did you win? Did you lose? Try, play the game. And like, it's fine that it's for adults. Like, great, because all of us are now adults who watched the show when we were kids, and that's kind of the point, right? So make it into something that's like the original show. I kind of laughed because the first show, I watched most of it all the way through as I was getting more and more agitated and annoyed by, you know, the host and how the show is built like a reality show that's not a reality show. And this is after the first, you know, initial round where everybody comes through and they cut, I believe it's 1 team, because all the teams aren't vying for a spot in the temple anymore. They whittled it down so there's one less person or team to get rid of, like, each round. It's just all screwed up. So I had to laugh because, you know, these people lose and, oh, you're not going home empty-handed. You get those nifty team shirts that you're wearing. You're so freaking cheap that you can't even give them like a skateboard or I don't know. I mean, candy, rollerblades. There's all kinds of stuff that, you know, the original show gave the initial losers. But it wasn't like a slap in the face, like, you suck so bad, so thanks for coming. You get that shirt. That cost us $4 or less. Awesome. And then I mentioned, a skateboard or something like that. It's either the second or the third round. Well, you lost, so you get a Razor scooter. Okay, I mean, it's not a Casio boombox, but I haven't seen. I don't know if you maybe be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anybody over the age of 15 riding around on a Razor scooter in 5 years, or however long they've been out.
I don't tend to pay attention to those things. Well,
I mean, you would have to acknowledge as you're driving or walking, and you're like, hey, that person's on a scooter of some kind.
Right, but it's not like I sit there and go, oh, hey, look, a scooter. I haven't seen one of those in a while. It's more of like, oh, yeah, get on the scooter on the right. Make sure he doesn't swerve into the road. It's just not one of those things I'm paying attention to, Kidder. It's not. So
you're not keeping a daily log, not writing on your arm like, yep, I've seen 3 scooters this month.
Right. I'm not. Listen, if the government wants to give me a grant to go and study scooter usage in the upper north in Great Plains, sure, I'll do it. I'll pay attention to scooters then. But
right now, we're going into hobbies. November and December. Shit, I'll sit out on the corner with my my notepad. I'll watch. It seems that no scooters were used in a 6-month period in Bismarck. Man, this grant was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But otherwise, I have enough hobbies. I don't need to sit and monitor scooter usage. So I couldn't tell you if Razor scooters are hot or not. Couldn't tell you. Not so.
I think they're pretty cool amongst the kids, but as a prize for some adults on a game show, I don't really think that it's an adequate prize. It's just me. They don't have to go to space camp. That should be the grand prize still, but. A Razor scooter.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, I haven't watched any of the new Legends of the Hidden Temple. But you would have thought that this could have been a good classic because it's got that nostalgic pop. And look at what's really big right now, coming off of the Ninja Warrior series out of Japan that eventually then became, American Ninja Warrior. People love watching people run these obstacle courses, right? And truthfully, I think everybody can agree. The best part of Legends of the Hidden Temple was always the temple run. It definitely wasn't the history because, boy, as a history teacher going back and watching that show, it's like, oh, there's some inaccuracies in this thing. But that aside, everybody I know always wanted to run the temple. That was the part. And you know what? You could have done something with this show that maybe, it was much more of an obstacle course, not quite American Ninja Warrior, which is much more about, peak fitness. And grip strength, but have some of these puzzles and the guards and things like that. Maybe you had to learn a legend and that would give you clues to how to run the temple. I mean, you could have done some really cool stuff with that and really had a hit show, even if you wanted to change the formula, because even then, you watch American Ninja Warrior, they don't dive into every aspect of everybody who runs, right? It's maybe the ones that get further on into the competition. Sure, they'll have a bit more, but you better believe there's a couple of people that, hey, we got Brandon from New Jersey up here. Brandon's going in. Oh, he biffed it on the first obstacle. Better luck next time, Brandon. There's a few of those. Well, it's a shame because I grew up watching Legends of the Hidden Temple, and I think I've said I've only had 2 channels, so you might be going, but wait, Howard, how did you watch Legends of the Hidden Temple as a kid? Let me tell you, when we'd go to my grandma's house in Sioux Falls, you better believe that the big thing was always to try and find Legends of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon and watch it. I see you are sharing the new remake trailer. Why? Why do you hate me? Why are you making me watch this abomination? Kidder, what did I do to you? I have brought nothing but joy and happiness to your life. Oh, but CW. This explains it all. Yeah. Why did you lead off with that, Kidder? It's like, of course it's not good. It's the CW doing it.
Well, I suppose, but it's a CBS-led production. That's where all the money's coming from. And I know that because it's exactly like the shows I mentioned, Big Brother and The Amazing Race. Now, I'm showing all of this because it looks sweet, doesn't it? Like, it looks really cool. And I cannot think... What? You think it looks so cheesy? It looks
like really bad CGI.
Well, right. Okay, so that version of Olmec is not, the final Olmec. So that... not cool. But there's Olmec, and there's the host. So there you go. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but the original voice of Olmec has returned. So he is voicing Olmec again. And so you have the let's rock, the original, what made Legends of the Hidden Temple, aside from the games. But what you're seeing in this commercial basically is kind of the entire show. Yeah, sweet. Now we're going to dissect what we did and complain and then talk about how we had like all kinds of things happen to us when we grew up in our entire life story. It doesn't matter for the show. You just do the show. And the temple itself is really cool. And of course, there's the original Legends of the Hidden Temple, right? Like going back in time to super cheap production. But look at that Kirk Fogg coming in out of nowhere from the Kirk Fogg lair high above the temple, coming in to rock these kids' world with their elbow pads and their cheap gold helmets. And the purple parrots right there. Silver snakes, baby. And I don't remember, which episode that this is showing, but I can guarantee that the silver snakes were probably in the finals or they won this one because they kick ass. But look, okay, here's the teams. You're fighting over the pennant of life. There it is. And he's explaining the basics of the show. Like, look, you got these simple games, right? I get, they're for kids. Like, I get it. But going into the temple, there's a temple. Bam. How quickly it is. There it is, ready to roll. And it's not the same. Then you get this. Again, there's the temple. Like, it's huge. This son of a bitch is huge. So they have, a camera crew following you through it, and they still have the Shrine of the Silver Monkey, which is cool. And I will give the host credit on one that I watched because no, I'm not giving the host credit because it was actually Olmec who said it. Olmec was describing the path to this shiny rooster as the piece that you had to pick up in the temple. And he's describing the rooms of the temple as he always did through the series. As you come into this room, and then you might choose to open this and go up into this room. And so he talks about going into the Shrine of the Silver Monkey. And if you assemble that damn thing, then you can go on to whatever room. I started laughing. Like, that's the kind of thing that's hilarious and is quality to add to the show, right? Because it's for adults. The kids aren't necessarily watching it. Yeah, he's not really swearing because he's just saying the word damn, but everybody had trouble putting the three pieces of the Silver Monkey together. And so they're making fun of it or making light of it because we can't make fun of it. So yeah, like there's these obstacle courses and they're making it a little bit more challenging for adults. Great. But in the middle of the challenge, they're interrupting with the story of your life. We don't need that. We don't need the story of your life. Just show us the damn show. That's what made the show. Half an hour, in and out. You're good to go. Right?
Yeah,
you love the show.
Yeah. Well, but as I said, I haven't seen the new one, so I can't tell you just how annoying that part would be. But I will say, I mean, it's not like you need that human interest story in everything. Wipeout is another great example. I don't really recall them doing like a huge deep dive into the contestants on Wipeout. And that show does amazingly well. So
that's the other thing. The grand prize winners pick up a $25,000 cash card through some company. I can't recall. Is it Chime or I don't know, whatever. But there's a piece of the temple, so you can see the Crypt of the Heartless and their updated map in the side. You know, the Pit of Despair, which was always one of the troubling areas. The Spider's Lair. You know, they're trying to keep a lot of the same areas of the temple. There it is. There's the shrine. Very similar pieces like the original. There's the monkey head. The shrine of the silver monkey. As they're going through some of these other rooms, I should also mention that there have been some articles posted that say Kirk Fogg will be utilized in some form through this season, the first season of Legend of the Hidden Temple Revival, but the CW and the production company haven't released the information as to how he's going to be used. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of creepy with some of the stuff in this. I don't know. What, as you're looking at some of the pictures of the set, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I don't know what you're going for here. I guess I was kind of wondering
reaction.
How much of this are we going to get away with before we get a copyright strike?
It's just a tiny screen, and we're the CW logo's on there. We're giving them props for their video on here. This is a fair usage, non-licensed content, because obviously we're not making money on this. So you can't strike us for that. And if you want to sue us, you're the ones with the $25,000 at the end. We don't have that. So
I just had to make that joke though, Kidder, because like you'll sing like a little bit of a song, like "Please don't sue us," or "Oh, we don't have the money." Like you make that joke all the time, and like I make that joke, and you're like, "Well, no, fair use." It's like,
yeah, because I'm ripping this to shreds.
Yeah, no,
this is clearly a review function.
Again, audience, you're picking up on the double standard here on the Triple B, where Kidder can make a joke and no criticism. Howard
no
makes
idea
the same
what you're
joke,
talking
and it's
about.
like,
no idea.
Old man Kidder shows up then.
We got to be careful because we're going to lose some money on this. We don't have any money.
Yeah, I don't know. Just from the screenshots and such, I don't know. I lost interest when I saw CW.
Yeah, because we know that the CW is kind of where things go to die, except for Penn and Teller Fool Us, because that's where it started and it's been going for 10 seasons, and that show's awesome. But that's more of a Penn and Teller show.
Actually, Penn and Teller Fool Us started in the UK. Truthfully.
In the UK?
Mm-hmm. It was actually a UK show. They were doing it over in England. With Jonathan Ross was the host at that time. So it started over there, got big enough over there that it got picked up in America, and they brought it over to the United States. So it did not start at the CW.
Okay, in the US it started on the CW.
Yeah, after it was a proven concept elsewhere.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's good. They did something right. Unlike Walker, Texas Ranger, or Walker. Don't watch that show. It's a flaming dumpster fire.
Well, I think we've said that the CW stands for cringeworthy. So
yeah, pretty much. We're there. But I was more so asking of your thoughts looking at the sets and, the production value, because watching it and seeing the previews, I had very high hopes for the show. And they put a lot of money into the sets and all of the production that goes into it. Like, this is going to be sweet.
Yeah. I was going to say, truthfully, when I looked at the temple, and I don't know, again, glancing at screenshots, it looked like this temple is smaller than the original temple. So, like this one, of course, yes, has height and kind of bulk to it, but it looked like it had nowhere near the rooms that the original temple had. So
I'll have to do a better comparison and report back next week.
I want the full analysis. I want detailed maps. I want charts. I need dimensions, size diagrams. Yeah. This will be your final
internet now.
Your whole grade depends on this.
I'm going to find what Wikipedia has to say on it. A true tried source right here. Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, where all the information comes from Wikipedia or TikTok. Just depends on who's looking at it.
Overall, very disappointed. I had a lot of support for my criticisms of the show on the show's Facebook page. So a lot of people are disappointed in this show as well. And either they fix it or hopefully it dies a swift death.
Yeah. You always got to be careful when you touch people's little nostalgia triggers. We all have those things that we loved growing up, and you just should always touch them. You should sometimes just let them live as they are. I think about that with the current Hollywood trend of we're remaking everything. It's why? You don't need to. Not everything needs a sequel or reboot or that. Come up with something new. Why don't you do that? But
or a reboot of a reboot of a reboot, but then you're rebooting the original, which doesn't have anything to do with the other 3 reboots between those and that. Which reminds me, I have to say this because yesterday, sitting with some coworkers, and we were discussing some movies and various things, and somebody brought up Spider-Man, and I said, I have to be completely honest, I hate Spider-Man. And 2 of the 3 other people in the room gasped. One of them being our mutual acquaintance here. And avid viewer / listener of this show. So thanks for joining us again for this episode. And immediately when they gasped, I said, what? Did I strike a chord? I'm going to use this as content for the show. So thank you for that. They're like, why do you hate Spider-Man? I'm like, I never liked Spider-Man. I think he's stupid. I don't like Spider-Man. And on top of it, I don't like Spider-Man, and then we remake Spider-Man, and then another year passes, we remake Spider-Man, and then let's recast Spider-Man, and let's go do an origin story of Spider-Man, and then recast Spider-Man again, and then have a sequel and a sequel and a sequel, but then we're going to redo it again. No.
All right, let's dive into this. Let's have a little bit of debate. So, Kidder, what is it that you dislike about Spider-Man? What do you have against the character and such? Let's start with the character. Let's not worry about the movies and the reboots. The character. Yeah. What is it that doesn't appeal to you about the character?
I guess I just think it's kind of boring. Like you could shoot webs out of your hand. Like you get some sticky icky problems. I just think it's dumb. I know there's a lot of other DC and Marvel characters out there that are equally dumb, but
there's some that are a lot worse actually. But yeah,
correct. And I think those are dumb too. You go ahead and name some, and I'll agree with you that they're dumb.
God, I don't even want to go into some of them because again, that gets into politics and current events.
Let's just not, because we just talked a little bit about like DC versus Marvel and how DC is stuck in their original writing, but Marvel has adapted to today, or more so for today, so it kind of fits. I kind of agree with that to some degree, because there's a little bit of that. Hey, Clark Kent here, say, yeah, Clark. Or Child Bruce.
I would disagree with that statement. I think
name
DC
your second child, Bruce.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come back to Spider-Man, but let me touch on this point. I disagree with you. I do think that DC has written stuff more modern. The problem with DC is that most of the characters are just so gosh darn goody that, you know, there's nothing to really enjoy. How do you get behind a character like Superman who really has no flaws? Period. Like the most interesting storyline that I know of really with Superman is actually a spin-off that was done by NetherRealms for the video game Injustice, which was this whole idea of Superman. Okay, I'm going to spoil a little bit of Injustice, but it's old enough you should know. The premise of Injustice is that the Joker kills Superman's wife and unborn child. And because of that, Superman basically says, you know, all of these villains that we have refused to kill and we just lock up and they escape and they do this again and again, no more. And he kills the Joker. And he basically says, listen, I'm the strongest thing here on Earth. I'm inserting my will. You will all do this and we will have peace, period. And that's an interesting story because it's this interesting story of this guy who has always stood for truth, justice, and the American way being twisted. Batman is about the best character in DC because he's at least got tragedy. He's got flaws. He's not a perfect character. So he's actually the only character I really like in DC is Batman, if I'm being honest. So I would say that they have moved with the times. I just think, though, that their characters are weaker. I think Marvel has stronger characters where characters are stronger. Let's take Spider-Man. The original Spider-Man, starting at the beginning, this is a kid, and we can all remember how hard it was in high school to balance, you know, work and school and a social life. Now, if you add being a superhero on there and, you know, this story of him, you know, it's like, well, hey, I got these superpowers. This is cool. I should be able to make money with it. But I'm not going to be a superhero. And now my uncle's dead, and I've learned a valuable lesson that if I don't use my powers for good, you know, I'm going to let bad things happen. I have to live with those consequences. And that's truthfully what makes Spider-Man an interesting character. It's the fact that it's this teenager who has these powers and he's trying to juggle, I have to stop this guy from destroying the world. But at the same time, my aunt needs me and I have to be there for her. And he's got that constant conflict of those two sides. And that's what makes him interesting. Plus, he's got a really great rogues gallery.
Somebody else can deal with it. He needs to go to school and deal with his aunt.
Yeah. But that's what I enjoy Spider-Man. I like him, but that's the big thing. And it really is a kid, and it depends on which version you look at, whether he actually shoots the webs out of there. Most of the classic version is he actually wears a device and he makes his own basically sticky stuff. They got it right in the Amazing Spider-Man. So the Andrew Garfield movies, where it was a device and he had triggers and such, which was always great because he could run out of his web stuff at the worst possible time, and that could be a problem too. So that's what makes Spider-Man interesting. It's that balance of being a kid and a superhero and all of that. That's where that gets interesting. As for like 10,000 reboots, that's just Sony trying desperately to hold on to the license. That's what that is. but it is a good character. I enjoy Spider-Man. He's got,
and I'm glad
more.
that you enjoy him. I'm glad that you enjoy him. I'm glad that other people enjoy him, just not for me.
You're missing out, man.
I'm just maybe not missing the time that I would have to put into all that garbage. I'll put it into something else, like creating new merch for the store.
Oh no! Like I would recommend for you. I'm going to give you a suggestion, and I would suggest you go out and find and watch Into the Spider-Verse, which was an animated Spider-Man movie that came out a couple years ago now. It features Spider-Ham. He's in there, so there's some good comedy. Such. It's a good movie. I would recommend it. It's a little bit different take on Spider-Man because it's the Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'd say give it a try. Enjoy it. You know,
I might.
It's good. It's really good.
I probably won't because I'm going to be busy with Star Trek.
You've seen all of Star Trek. There is no really good new Star Trek.
Premiered yesterday, brand new series, Star Trek Prodigy.
Saw an ad, not impressed.
Yeah, not impressed with the animation?
Yeah.
Or what?
It just, I don't know, it didn't appeal to me.
So the interesting thing about it is and I have watched the pilot of the series, episode 1. And it's an interesting take on Star Trek because it's not the traditional Star Trek, if you will, because it starts out from people who have no idea about anything other than where they are, right? They're in the Delta Quadrant somewhere. They have no clue that the Federation exists. They don't know what it is. They don't know Starfleet. And it starts out in a prison camp. So very interesting, and an introduction into Star Trek and Starfleet and the Federation and that sort of thing, and some of the aliens and various things that happen in the Star Trek universe. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, how the season arc turns out. It looks pretty good. The animation is good. Couple spoilers, I guess, to some degree that have been broadcast everywhere already, is that Kate Mulgrew has reprised her role as Captain Catherine Janeway. And she first shows up at the end of the first episode as a hologram. And apparently later in the season at some point, Robert Beltran has reprised his role as Chakotay, who was the first officer of USS Voyager, a former Maquis member, if you remember that from Star Trek Voyager. So I'm interested to see where it goes, how it develops. So we'll see. I'll give you updates as we continue. I think there's only 10 episodes. I'm not completely sure, but this crap about making a season of television and it's 10 episodes, that's terrible. It's stupid. Same thing with Doctor Who. The new season premieres Sunday at 1:25 in the afternoon because it's airing live in England. So it'll be the start of Jodie Whittaker's final season as the Doctor. 10 episodes. Really? I'll also mention that in 3 weeks, the new season of Star Trek Discovery starts. So, yeah, I'll be busy with Star Trek.
You got time for a short animated movie.
Maybe. How long is it? Oh, you don't have to actually look for the full length. You can guesstimate. I don't know if we're quite known yet for our full accuracy on this show, but that'd be cool.
Hey, Future Howard tries, man. He constantly is trying, having to put stuff in here. Hey, it's airing Saturday, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. on FX.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you miss it then, it's on Sunday, 7:30 a.m. So set your DVR. I know you have one.
Telling my secrets.
Yeah, it's. I think most people know by the way that we handle wrestling. It's an hour and 56 minutes.
2 hours, so it's like a 4-hour FX movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you'll fast forward through the commercials.
Or maybe it's on one of the streaming apps. And then I don't have to sit there and yawn through the whole thing.
That's good. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I hope so, I guess, if I get around to watching it.
It's got Nicolas Cage in it. How could it not be good?
Nicolas Cage is in it, huh?
Plays one of the Spider-Men. It's got John Mulvaney in it as well. If not, I know a certain coworker of yours who will probably pester you about it. You know who you are.
We'll see.
That's here's an assignment from your old boss. Get your new boss to watch Spider-Man into the multiverse.
The funny thing about that is in the comments, he was calling out the gentleman from Indiana. So we have other viewers of this show along for the ride commenting and calling him out as well. So it's not even just the two of us anymore calling him out. There's other people who don't even know him calling him out. What the hell, man? What the hell?
Well, it means one of two things. Either one, everybody's tired of us talking about the gentleman from Indiana, or two, they're just all like, who is this guy? Pushing for it, wanting
Mysterious.
To finally get him on the show.
And avoiding us.
Well, I do understand he's been busy. He just moved.
Did you want to give us an update on what's happening in your Cave of Wonder, the Howard's Cave of Wonder?
Well,
it's been a minute.
Yeah, well, and I know. Of course, we're recording this, so here we go. Some time travel stuff. The time that we're recording this, is the week that the second episode should have dropped, and there was no second episode. Mostly again, Howard was sick and didn't feel like editing. So stand by it. Well, you'll already know at this point when it comes out, but I'm hoping to launch it sometime this weekend. So there will be a second episode. It's coming. And I have more stuff. Stifling a cough over here. Fighting through it. We're gonna power through this.
Okay, you go ahead and mute and you start coughing that sumbitch out. I'll cover for you so then I don't have to start coughing as well, because that's also a possibility that I might start hacking up, because it's been a while since I've had something to drink. I'm clearly getting tired.
You are. You're fading fast. But it's I think it'll be good. I'm really hoping that people will make some comments about what they would like to see and such. Because there's some stark differences between the two episodes. The first episode is much more of a vlog style. The second episode is a bit of a unboxing, but it's not like, hey guys, I'm going to unbox the newest game from so-and-so. It's hey, here's the last hobby box that I have, or at least the last box I have that's labeled hobbies. It would just be interesting to see what people think of that and what they want to know and see more of. So, and I have a couple other things that are going to go up if I can find the time to edit them. So there's that. But I wanted to talk about a few things from the gaming world and such. I don't know how long. So by the time this comes out, it may be too late, but you might be able to late pledge. However, I'm telling you now because it comes out on Tuesday. On Tuesday, Kidder, of this next week, Monsterpocalypse goes live on Kickstarter. So I've mentioned it on the show here before. It's a small skirmish battle game where you play kaiju battling it out over a city, much like the movie Pacific Rim. So if you ever wanted Pacific Rim, the board game, Monsterpocalypse is coming to Kickstarter November 2nd. There will probably have already been a post on the Beer, Blues, and BS Facebook page letting you know. But this is for a particular someone who seems to be a fan of this particular movie and thinks that, you know, all of the hosts of this show should have seen this movie. Hey, here's a board game coming out that's right along those lines.
And I've seen it, for the record. Both of them.
You have?
Yes.
I've seen it. I see it sitting right on that shelf, right there, with a spotlight right on it, so that it's highlighted.
I softballed that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell was that?
You know, Google should have censored all of that because that was all sound effect noises. So, yeah, I was doing the classic, you know, the baseball, you know, knock and cheering of the crowd. But yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. We'll see if Google got it, if we got it through on either end. But
we'll try and push it through.
So there's that. One thing that, you know, Kidder, I talked about, and it'll be in Howard's Cave of Wonders, was, you know, me doing the whole Bones inventory. Well, that's all done, and
there it goes.
There goes. I actually, Kidder, and hey, I'll have it on the show. A little segment here of Howard's Cave of Wonder. I actually got my replacement figures in the mail just recently. So they replaced 3 of the 4 figures that had problems, and then they sent me, because the one figure was a larger figure, they just sent me the missing piece. So got that. And then the other big thing that I was missing was the luck dice that was in there. So I got my dice. So not only did I finish the inventory, but I've gotten them missing pieces and such. So thank you, Reaper Miniatures, for that. And fast service on that. So wanted to give that. And they are, unfortunately, by the time everybody hears this, the pledge manager is once again closed. So if you had wanted to get in on some of the Bones 5 goodness, sorry. It's too late now.
But there's a 6th one in the works.
Yeah, there is.
Sort of.
There is. I hate to bring it up because one, it's like I just got 5, so I'm not really ready for 6. But also there's a lot of, we talked about this, Kidder, in episode 31 about how you get like these small fan bases that are like, we really have to have this in a Kickstarter. So the big ones that have been going on for 6, and as I said, 6 hasn't even really officially been announced, but we keep hearing, like, people keep clamoring they want a lighthouse. They want a whale. They want a goose with a knife. I don't know why they want these things. But they keep calling for them, and I'm afraid that they might actually get some of these, because that's how we ended up with the pirate ship. Those people started clamoring for a pirate ship, and then they made it happen. So we'll see. But yeah, there is a 6th one coming. It can take its time, though. Could be a while. I'd be okay with that. Such.
Well, the real question, would you be getting 6? Sounds like and looks like he can neither confirm nor deny these nor any other allegations at this time.
I mean, you better believe I'm going to be looking at it, but you know, no promises at the moment. No promises. I'm sure we'll talk more about it when it gets launched and out there. So, But a couple other things. One of these was a news story that you shared with me, Kidder, which I thought was funny. But you had shared an article with me about, well, just
Why?
what are you doing reading RPG news? You know, I've never known you to be an RPG player, and let alone a Star Wars RPG.
That's just showing you the level of how much I care.
Yeah, it just makes me worried that you're going to eventually find out that there's a Star Trek RPG out there.
Oh, I already know.
And that it comes with figures.
Mm-hmm. You gave me one.
No, I haven't. The set. I mean, these are this is like Picard and Riker and Worf and Geordi.
Oh, this is that other RPG, right? You gave me a figure from a different RPG. That's a Star Trek.
I gave you, I think it's the Enterprise from the Star Trek version of Attack Wing, is what I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I gave you.
It's right over there.
I keep
right about there.
keep slowly trying to put geeky stuff into, maybe suck you into this hobby. Space some.
I'm out of space. I'm out of space.
Oh, I know you got rooms in your basement that are. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You too could have a Cave of Wonder. Anyway, yes, it was announced that there's going to be a new Star Wars RPG, which is something I kind of expected to happen. Fantasy Flight Games, who made the last Star Wars RPG, which actually I have the 3 core books of up here. So, yeah, the Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and then Force and Destiny. So the white, the red, and the black, which were all kind of interesting books. Edge of the Empire was more of your thieves, scoundrels, bounty hunters. Was kind of what you played. Age of Rebellion was your military. So if you wanted to really be in like the military, rebels versus Imperials, there you go. Force and Destiny was your force powers, and if you wanted to be a Jedi and kind of have those sorts of adventures. And this was produced by Fantasy Flight Games. It's a wonderful, wonderful system. I have ran a campaign in each of those. In fact, I had a small group. And in fact, hey, Kidder, here you can poke our shared coworker now. He actually played in the campaign with us for a bit. So he actually was in this, but it was a 3-year campaign, and I would do it over the summer, and each summer I did a different we did a different core book and such, and it all tied together in one very long, big, epic story. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good times, a lot of good moments from it. Anyway, Fantasy Flight Games, when they were bought out by Asmodee Games, which is a much larger company, Asmodee has been kind of taking and moving stuff around. So they took Star Wars Legion, which is a skirmish war game set in the Star Wars universe, and gave that over to Atomic Mass Games, who also make Atomic Mass Marvel Crisis Protocol, which we've talked about on the show as well. It's kind of one of those, oh, you guys are doing our war games, so you guys get Legion, so that goes over there. They've taken the RPG side of the Star Wars license and they've given it over to, I believe, Edge is the new company, and they're working on this new RPG. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. The Fantasy Flight one was very good. The only real critique was that it had kind of a weird and somewhat complicated dice pool system that could kind of mess with people. In fact, for us in our group to play it, I actually had to make handouts in order for us to be able to do things like combat and such. So here's the combat handout, and this was basically my little assembling the dice pool kind of thing that you would kind of work through, and all of the fun things that I had to keep track of. which was a really good chart. And I've had many of the people who played with me who have gone on to run this game on their own ask me, like, hey, you got that chart? Could I borrow that? Anyway, a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see what this new system is. And then one last bit of gaming news, and then I'll move off this topic so that I don't put Kidder to sleep. Oh,
I'm still here.
I want to talk about one of my current favorite games. It's probably on the top of my list, and some of the problems I've been having with it recently. And this just goes to show why some companies, you shouldn't keep everything a secret. That game is actually also over my shoulder. I decorated, so I had things I could point at. It's a game from Fantasy Flight Games called Arkham Horror, and it's the Arkham Horror living card game. Kidder, have you ever heard of a living card game before?
It's possible. I'm sure that as you start describing it, I might go, yeah, or I'll be like, nah. Well,
let me tell you, Kidder, I think you would enjoy a living card game format because back in the day, back in high school, we both did play Magic the Gathering.
Oh, yeah.
Magic the Gathering was a collectible card game. So you would go and you would buy your booster pack, you'd open it up, and you would get a random selection of cards. So you couldn't ever guarantee that you would get the cards that you want. You were kind of just doomed to whatever you got or could trade for, or buy at whatever rate people were charging. A living card game, instead of that, there is new content that comes out. Fantasy Flight Games would do it every month. They would release a new pack of cards. And if you bought that pack, you got all of the cards that were in that release. So you didn't have to buy multiple packs. You just had to go out, buy your set, and boom, you have your cards that you need to play the game. So that's why it's a living card game. New content constantly being released, but you could always get it. So Arkham Horror, the living card game, is a wonderful narrative game. You build a deck of cards that is basically your investigator. And it has all sorts of skills and tools and allies and things like that in this deck. And then you basically get dropped into a Lovecraftian horror story, and you use your cards to basically make your way through this story. Very good. It's the kind of thing that you can't talk too much about because spoilers are a big thing in the community for people who play this game. It's a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy it. I want to play more of it. And I kind of fell behind on a lot of the releases, but I have the core set, which is up there, and I actually have 2 copies of it because at the time you needed 2 copies to be able to play 4 players and such. And then usually they would release a deluxe expansion, and I have one of those up there. The Path to Carcosa is up there. And then they would release these individual modular packs. So each one was a new part of the story. So, Kidder, I decided here recently, I'm like, you know what? I want to add to my collection. I want to kind of try to complete the next cycle, the Path to Carcosa cycle. And I ordered the Path to Carcosa deluxe expansion. Got that. I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start trying to find these module packs. And damn it, I could only find like one of them, like still in print or anywhere. And I'm digging all over the web. I'm going to all the stores I normally go to. I even looked at eBay. I looked at Amazon. Could not get it. I even had one spot where I thought I got it, and they had to refund my money and say, sorry, there was an error in our system. We don't actually have a copy. So I've been trying to get this.
It's like finding an Xbox Series X or a PS5.
Well, it's more like if you. What's a great way to put it? It'd be like if you found like a copy of the original Halo, and it had the first 2 levels, and that's it. Like, and you had to go out and find the individual levels, and you just weren't there. You know, so I've been struggling to do this.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely frustrating because, like, right, I have the first 2 levels, and the one pack I was able to find. You know, so it's like I got a little bit of it. Man, what am I going to do with this? So I took the last expansion that came out, and I found one place where I could buy the deluxe expansion and all the packs. I'm like, yes, please, I'll take all of that. So I have that set. And recently, Fantasy Flight Games announced, hey, we're going to release a revised core set, and basically make it so that you only need the 1 core set to play 4 players. So basically take 2 core sets and combine. Okay, cool. That's great. And then they announced that the next expansion was going to have 2 boxes. You were going to have basically the investigator cards all in 1 box for the entire cycle. So you would only need to buy that to have all the investigator stuff. And then they would have the story box, and they would have all the story cards. So 2 boxes, and you would have that entire cycle. Well, that's great. But you know what Fantasy Flight failed to do? They failed to say, hey guys, not only are we doing this from now on and make this the new way that you collect your sets, we're going to go back and reprint all of the old expansions and such in this format. So it means, Kidder, I will eventually complete my Path of Carcosa set. I just have to wait for them to get there at that point. But it would have been nice to know that they were doing this when they announced, because I knew about the revised core set a while ago. Because when they announced that, I'm like, oh, that's about when it kicked in. Like, I really should start picking that up again now that I've moved. And it's like, man, it would be nice if they would have said, because I even looked at the newest expansion, Edge of the Earth. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I like that they're doing it this way from now on. It'd be really cool if they would have said, and we're doing this from now on. Or we're going to go back and reprint the old ones, because that would have saved me a lot of searching and headaches on it. But needless to say...
So now I'm guessing your best bet is to go to eBay and try and find cards or sets that you're missing that would be much higher priced than just going out to buy the starter kit.
Well, I just got to wait for them to re-release the expansion sets. So I will end up with some duplicate cards, but it'll be okay.
Sorry, Orion is sitting next to our crest over there. He's pawing on it.
He's now,
yes.
Yeah, he's a little to the left there. Orion,
back the other way, Orion. Left. Can you put it back to the left, please? You see. Huh?
Yeah,
he's working.
No, that's
too far
right.
Too far down on the
other way. Other way.
You got to go to the other side, Orion. that side. Can you?
Here.
That side. Yeah. No, that's too much.
Too.
That's too much. Okay, it's good. It's good now. Well, we've officially jumped the shark.
I just want to say, Kidder, I know it's kind of hard to see the crest in the background, but you know there's 2 sides. There's a bear and a bison on there. You know, and I forget, and I could go get the reference book because the symbology in there is all tied to actual the symbology from Coat of Arms. I forget what the bear stands for, but the bear is to represent you. I'm the bison on that one. And I just had to laugh that, you know, Orion was kicking the crap out of the bear on there.
He was giving it to both sides. He was an equal opportunist pawing session there. So he was giving both sides of business.
I just want to know what did you do upset Orion? Yeah.
I think he just, we've been doing this show for a while here, and he figured the best way to get both of our attention was to go get the crest. I don't know.
Well, I guess in that case, Kidder, we've been talking for quite a while. I guess it's time for us to wrap this up.
Well, I guess if you say it's time, then let's make it that time for some cheap plugs. A couple things just to spout off right here at the top. We would certainly appreciate for you, our faithful listener or viewer, to join us all over the place. First of all, there's Facebook. You can follow the show and like us right there and get some episodes and find out what's happening with your good brothers right there. Also, our home on the internet is beerbluesbs.com. That's a fantastic place to stay connected with the show because you get our podcasts listed on there. The new episodes show up as they are released. You can also get the links to our social media page like Facebook, as I just mentioned. Also, the YouTube page where all of these videos are streaming. And if you're watching this right now, thanks for streaming it because we appreciate it. Hey, below right here, if you want to click the thumbs up, that would be pretty sweet. And the subscribe button that's right about over here. You can click that too. That'd be awesome. You don't have to get notifications. That's okay. We're giving you new content all the time because we love having an excuse to get together and BS about pretty much anything and everything. And so yeah, beerbluesbs.com. That's our home in cyberspace. beerbluesbs.com. If you would check it out, click the merch button. You never know what you're going to find on there. Some new merch popping up here and there, so check it out. Shirts, glasses, blankets, artwork for the wall, things like that. All kinds of cool stuff on there. beerbluesbs.com. If you want to take us with you wherever you go with the audio version, listen to us while you're driving around, well, you can certainly do that as well on all of your favorite podcast listening places. We are pretty much everywhere, from Android podcasts, that's on Google, to the Apple podcasts on your iOS. Spotify, we're on there. You can get notifications every time a new episode's dropped. Also on Pandora and iHeartRadio, just to name the major ones out there. And then you can tune into Stitcher FM and a few of the other ones that are out there. I just got to go back to the list over here to make sure that I don't forget about any of them. Like Amazon Music or Amazon Podcasts, TuneIn, IMDb, Player FM. There's a couple of them on there. Just want to make sure we get those mentioned on our plugs as well, because you can listen to this show right there on that site. And the source for them is Podbean. Just go to podbean.com and search for Beer Blues and BS. Or, like I mentioned before, the better way and quicker way is just to go to our homepage in cyberspace, beerbluesbs.com. And of course, the link to our website is in the show notes, so you don't even have to remember that and then go search for it later, because it's down below in the show notes. So, for that, I think we have conquered enough topics for this week. So we'll hold the rest for next week. We'll try and figure it out, have some more fun. For Howard Blues, I'm the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Kidder. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Beer, Blues, and BS. Go Avs! Go Sioux! Hopefully, your glass is never empty. Keep that sumbitch at least half full. Free beer tomorrow, and as always, we'll catch you on down the old dusty Tuscan Highway. So have a good one, and we'll see you on the next episode of Beer, Blues, and BS.
You have been listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and BS. If you enjoyed the show, help others find out about it by rating the show or leaving a review at your podcast listening service of choice. Thanks for listening, and may your glass never be empty. UA Productions presents A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
The Howard Booze has joined.
Nope. Can't hear you.
I'm not sure. You didn't mute me, did you?
No, but I hear you now.
Okay.
And I can't tell you what I fixed, but you know what, Kidder? This just explains like my night as it has occurred. Because like
this is good, huh?
let me rant here for a little bit because I'm coming to this show a little hot.
Okay.
I kid
Good.
you not.
Not good, but
8:30 I sit down for dinner because Lefty got home late because for some friggin' reason, like somebody placed like a 12 burger order at Five Guys. So we had to wait for them before we got ours. So like 8:30 before I had dinner, had to scarf down my food. Five Guys, I don't know why. Usually they're pretty decent, but they like I had like black burnt bacon on my burger. Like it was black, man.
that's shitty.
Just yeah. I mean, it's just like, well, great. Like half the bacon on my burger. I mean, you could eat it, but why ruin the rest of the burger? So you had to pick all of that off. I get done eating at 8:55. Race down to the basement here. I had packed up my stuff. Like my podcast stuff had been packed up for a project that I was supposed to do this week, but I will talk about on the show. So I had to I'm quickly scrambling to set up lights. At the same time, I'm setting up the meeting. I send you that link. I get everything up and going. You know, I'm like, okay, this is great. I get the run sheet pulled up. I'm like, all right, this is good. I should be able to enjoy. I had a shake from Five Guys. Junior is patiently waiting. Like because we share the shake, and he's like, shake, I see you have it. I want it. Finish this up, old man. Get this stuff set up so we can have shake. So I'm working. I'm trying to get this all done. And the last thing I do is like, well, let's close any other Windows programs, things like that. One of the things I have up is the stupid Logitech software I downloaded to try and run my camera. It's the second software because the first software wasn't compatible with this camera, even though it says it's compatible with this camera. It's not compatible with this camera. So I downloaded the second one. So it's sitting there and it's like, hey, it's finished. I'm like, great. I hit finished. After I hit finished, you know what? I see that at the very bottom in little tiny print, like two little check boxes. One's like, we'll restart later, and the other one is we'll restart now. Guess which one was selected?
Let's restart. Do it now. Do it now.
My computer decides, let's restart. And of course, being a dinosaur, it's like, I'm going to be really slow to open up. It's like, so I finally get it up. I'm like, okay, and it took a while. At the same time, my phone dies. So you sent me a text like, hey, I'm in the meeting. Where are you? And my phone goes, hey, you want to respond to this? No, sorry, I'm tired. It goes to bed. I finally get into my, into the Howard Blues email account. I'm like, okay, I go to my sent file, which this is all taking a while because my computer is still like, this is,
gonna be a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I finally get to my sent file. I pull up, like the meeting. I click the meeting link and it's like, all right, hey, it starts going to join meeting. I'm pulling up the run sheet. I pop back. It's like
hey,
ready to join. I'm like, yes. And then it pops up and it goes, you're going to need permission to get in. I'm like, why am I going to need permission? I'm the guy who set this up. And I look at him like, oh, it's my main personal name account. So I have to quickly reset that. And then I get in here and what's happening? For some reason, Google's like, hey, you know how much you guys would like to talk to each other and rant and ramble and all of that? No,
not going to happen today.
We're going to sit here and have like 10 minutes of you guys scrambling to get sound. So that's what it took to get here. And yes, Kidder, I'm putting all of this in behind the curtain because people need to know just how damn hard it is sometimes to pull this show together.
Technology is awesome.
Yeah.
To fit in with that, I discovered as I was watching a bunch of the old episodes that for the past 4 weeks or 5, after I did an update, the webcam mic was set to default, even though it said that it was this microphone. So my audio sounded like shit.
Yeah.
Thanks, assholes. Yeah.
Oh.
So now that I actually sound normal again, and instead of kind of talking like this, and that for my part, I'm peeking out because I'm 5 feet from the microphone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
First world problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There was a lovely rant to start our evening.